to our friends out there in YouTube land. Your good buddy Fantastic Phil here, and my beautiful wife, and welcome back. We're just hopping on real quick. Our little girl's trying to go to sleep. Yes, that's fine. My sweatshirt's here holding everything up.
No, but it's in the camera.
It's fine. Okay. Our little girl's trying to go to sleep, so we're going to be quick, hopefully. We just watched the Deadpool and Wolverine film trailer for the second time today. We watched it the first time during my lunch break, so it was a little quick. And she started asking some questions, so we figured we'd explore this. So, honey, why don't you start out?
Well, you know the questions I asked.
Why don't you tell everybody the questions you asked? You said there's a lot going on.
Yeah, because then they showed Ant-Man's, I don't know what that is. Is it like where he...
His costume, and it opened it up, and it's a skeleton inside.
Yeah.
So, if you remember our past discussions, and I think this leaves credit to it, they take a little bit from the Avengers storyline Time Runs Out from Hickman, came out a few years ago, where the universes started colliding together, and that led to Secret War, where the Ultimate Universe, right before the Ultimate Universe had crashed into the Marvel 616 universe. That's basically in a nutshell. So that's what we're seeing here. I think that if you look, there's several references to a different universe. You see
Doctor Strange's thing.
Right, Doctor Strange's thing, little magical portals. That's more towards the end. You see a dead Ant-Man, which we were talking about earlier. You see the Fox logo. Did you see that in the desert, all destroyed?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
There were some other things I was trying to figure out what it was. Like there was a boat-looking thing. I was thinking either that's one of the submarines from X-Men First Class or part of the not SHIELD helicarrier from the first Deadpool film.
And the store feet.
Yeah, that's Liefeld's feet. But you know what was interesting in that too? The next MCU film after this is Captain America, I think it's called A Brave New World or New World Order, excuse me. And the rumored villains in it are, in addition to the Red Hulk, the Serpent Society. Mm-hmm. And in that same scene, everybody's talking about Liefeld's, but nobody seems to be talking about there's a store when they first come in that says Copperheads. Copperhead is one of the members of the Serpent Society. I don't know if he's cast for the film. We don't even really know if the Serpent Society is really involved. That was just in a McDonald's toy leak, to be honest with you. But, I mean, there's a loose connection, I guess you could say. You were asking me about the bald woman.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Well, the rumor has been, and that seems to confirm it for me, that's Professor Xavier's long dead twin sister, if you remember I told you that whole story.
Yeah.
Cassandra Nova is her name.
Yeah.
I don't think she's the main villain, though. I think it's actually combinations of things. Last week I had read a rumor that the villain was actually going to be this alternate version of the TVA, which we see there, but I don't think that they're the main villain. You do see Wolverine and Deadpool fighting them at one point. I think it's a combination of Cassandra Nova taking over this evil TVA, because she's in some sort of a ship, it looks like. Mm-hmm. And I think that they are basically the cause behind these universes colliding. I also think, did you notice, it was in two scenes, but the last one that comes to mind is right behind the portal. There was a big purple cloud.
Yeah.
I think that's one of two things. I think it's either Alanoth from the Loki series. Remember in season 1, the big cloud that destroys worlds?
No. Loki?
The second to last episode, he was stuck in that world.
Yeah.
Or it is the giant dust cloud that is Galactus at the end of Fantastic Four.
I didn't even give it much thought.
Rise of the Silver Surfer. But you know, too, you have to take these things with a grain of salt, because Marvel is known to
make a connection.
Well, insert things that aren't necessarily there. Like if you remember the Infinity War trailer, you saw Hulk running in a scene in Wakanda, and he was never actually there in the film.
But it could be also a way to throw you off.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, like in the trailer.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. And they tend to dance around different cameos because I mean, look, the internet is the internet. Yeah. They've suggested basically every single person who's ever been in a Fox movie is going to appear in this movie. And while I think you're going to see a good amount of them, I doubt you're going to see Nicolas Cage. I know Famke Johnson, she played the original Jean Grey, has said that she's not in it. But then again, sometimes they say these things early on to negotiate for a higher salary. I don't
feel like there's too much going on.
No,
like,
I think that
just like what?
I think what you see at that party is going to be the first 5 minutes of the movie. I think that he's in this quiet place, and before you know it, the TVA sucks him up. They have him on this mission to save his world, I guess. That's where it gets a little murky. But they say, hey, this is a Wolverine from a world that has been destroyed. And that's why you kind of see this very, for lack of a better word at the moment, sad Wolverine. I think that, I don't know. I think that there are going to be a lot of crossovers. And as I said, I do think this is going to result with Deadpool somehow coming over into the MCU. I think that's a given. Or at least kind of floating around. The suggestion I had read last week about the TVA being the villain almost kind of painted a picture like Loki season 2. I don't think they're reliving the same thing, but I do think you're going to see some similarities. And again, I think this is an alternate TVA, which is kind of strange because the TVA, from what I understand, is a constant. But you realize you don't see any of the characters that we've seen from the Loki show.
I just hope it's not going to be too much going on to the point where it's just going to confuse the heck out of us, and I don't know. Like they did that in one movie, I'm trying to think which one. And I was like, what is going on? Like, it's so hard to follow through if there's too many characters being inserted, a lot of different plots inserted. It's just not for me at that point.
I don't think so. I think they're going to stick with the main characters. And again, I think you're going to see cameos, but I don't think you're going to see a whole big emphasis on the secondary players. Like at the most, when I say cameo, I think it's going to be kind of like at the very most the beginning of, if you remember Days of Future Past, when they showed what was at the time equated to the Age of Apocalypse X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there is another rumor going around that and I don't think necessarily that this is the case, that when Marvel does an X-Men movie, it's not going to be in this universe. It's going to be in the in the universe at the end of Captain Marvel, and that's further going to lead into these worlds colliding. But I think that whatever's going to collide is going to collide by the time they get around to doing that. Overall, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's an interesting concept, but I just feel like there's too much.
Well, we're guessing at this point.
I mean, from what I can gather from the trailer, I'm saying it's like too much.
I think there's a lot of guessing though. I know that at one point there was a photo that leaked of a Deadpool with long hair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, why did he have hair in the second half of the trailer? Was the first
in the little party scene, I think that's just a wig. That's pretty obvious. But you also see Dogpool. Remember I told you there was the Deadpool corpse?
Yeah.
And there was a rumor at one point they had gotten a lady Deadpool cast. I don't know that that's the case. I don't know if we're going to see the Deadpool corpse other than Dogpool. But I think that the long-haired Deadpool is going to be another version of Deadpool. I think I started explaining this to you. There's a peaceful version of Deadpool called Zenpool. It was introduced during Axis, which was an event that nobody really remembers.
You know what I really was thinking too is that compared to the very first Deadpool that came out, I love the first one because it was so comical. Whereas this one is a very different tone, even from the second. I mean, the second I didn't like because it was depressing. And I think this is going the same route where it's going to be gloomy and it's just going to be violent.
Well, he's trying to save his world. Right. I mean, you have Deadpool and Wolverine. But they're going to fight.
It's a whole different tone, would you agree? It's not comical anymore.
There was a lot of comedy in that.
Yeah, but it's a different concept, though.
Well, I guess we're going to have to wait until, well, these people are going to have to wait until July. We're going to have to wait until later when it's streaming. Unless we find, like, I know that there's a drive-in cinema, like, I think it's like an hour from here.
Yeah, but, with 2 kids.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to do that with 2 small children.
Can you imagine? They'd be crying.
Well, hey, look, if you're in a car, well, you probably can't see this movie with them. As soon as I was starting to say it, I started seeing the scene where the Wolverine pops his claws through Deadpool's crotch.
Oh, yeah, that was...
All right, final thought?
It's interesting to see. I'll just hold off my opinion until I see the movie.
Well, that's probably the smartest thing to do. If you're watching this, hashtag D end, and I'm not going to get fancy. You could spell it out. You could put a plus. You could put a ampersand, I think. No, or an end symbol, whatever it's called. DNW. Hashtag DNW. Entry into the Road to 1K giveaway. And if you're watching this and July rolls around, just don't be a jerk and spoil things. We're probably just going to have to shut down social media from July on to when this comes streaming. But nothing left to say but peace, love, and comics.